Welcome back to the channel. My name is Julian. If you're new here, thank you so much for tuning in. I have been documenting my journey here in the US. I came here to study and now I'm exploring. And this specific series is to kind of, encapsulate all of that. So this is part four. It's been a little while, but I wanted to come back when it was time to share about, some of the things I listed before if you watch some of the series, like the culture shocks, the cost of living, things like that. I'm in Austin, Texas. But I do think it's important that I speak about some of the other things that are happening. And I really wanted to not sound tone deaf, and I think I alluded to this in part three, where there's a lot happening. There are executive orders coming out, there are lots of things happening to immigrants. And I wanted to be mindful of the way I use my platform and what I share about, because I know it is just a touchy time for a lot of people, including myself. So let's start at where I am right now. Like I mentioned, I'm in Austin, Texas still, and I've really come to find Austin to be somewhat of a home. Of course, Jamaica will be my one and only true home, but I've gotten so used to Austin. I've now lived in multiple communities. I feel like I have a good sense of the space. And the true test is if you, for whatever reason, your phone dies or you don't have any data and you don't have your GPS, can you get home? Can you get to at least somewhere close to home? That has been a test for me, and I can definitely say I can reach home. I can reach home by car, I can reach home by bus. So, I'm very grateful for the ability to have learned this new space and, learn a lot about just a whole new world for me, because I never lived anywhere else outside of Jamaica. I've visited, but I've never lived anywhere else. So I feel like I've proven to myself that I can go somewhere new with the help of friends and family, of course, but I can go somewhere new and learn it and meet new people and actually survive. So that's really important to me. And I'm glad I've been able to do it, because I love to travel and I love to explore. But this has given me another level of, really testing me. And I'd like to think I've passed the test a bit. Some days I don't feel like it, but other days I'm like, hey, it's been 2 years and you actually have survived. So I feel very grateful for that. And the experience of being somewhere new, I just love that. Novelty is important to me. I love just doing new things and experiencing things and learning and, anyway, point is, still in Austin, still loving it. People ask me a lot about Texas, what it's like, and there are stereotypes and stuff like that. But I would say Austin is not like the rest of Texas. From what I've heard, I've only explored Dallas and San Antonio. I probably mentioned that before, but I'm looking forward to more exploration wherever that takes me. So, in terms of what I've been doing, so on the F1 post completion OPT, you have options. You can get a job, you can start a business, you can volunteer. And I feel like I've been doing a mix of those things. I definitely have been able to explore different companies, meet new people, network, things like that. I've also gotten the chance to do consulting projects. So, my background is project and product management. And that's been exciting to see how just a different scale of business. I mean, first things first, I always try to tell people that Jamaica is not some little island that nothing now go on, like not that nothing is happening. No, it's not the case. In fact, we to me are the hub of the Caribbean, and other Caribbean people don't fight me in the comments, but I do feel like that. I feel like that's a lot. For example, when we went to Singapore, and I saw how Singapore was kind of the hub of Southeast Asia, so much travel, so much happened. Singapore was that hub. For me, that's how I feel about Jamaica. And so I never felt like, oh, I wasn't doing much in Jamaica. It just is a different scene here, and it's different in terms of how people do business, um, the cultural norms, things like that. It's very transactional, which, things are transactional at home, but I feel like the business here is very just cut and dry. And we see that even in the way that, people talk about their employment experiences in the US, the fact that there aren't many unions or to me, the employment labor laws are not necessarily for the employee. So, it's different. In Jamaica, you have things like redundancy that's mandated by the government in terms of how people are compensated in the event of a redundancy. I really think that there's a lot in Jamaica that, because we're there, we don't necessarily appreciate it. But those things didn't come by accident, they didn't come by chance. And a lot of countries that we think are further ahead than Jamaica actually don't have a lot of what we have set up. So, in terms of my experience on OPT so far, I think it would be remiss if I didn't let you know how difficult it is to get a job in the US right now. And I wish that I could tell you it's not like that. And, the headlines are being sensationalized, which in a way they are, but in a way they aren't. Like, actually, it's really difficult just for regular US citizens to get employment, green card holders, much less somebody who is on OPT. And you have to explain that, hey, I don't need sponsorship. I actually have this document from the government that says, hey, I have a work permit. I can work. I don't need your sponsorship. Worse if you have a STEM extension that will come. So that's the 3 years I talk about. And you're like, I don't need your sponsorship for 3 years. You don't need to go into the H1B lottery for me. You don't need to pay any money to allow me to work. I have my work permit right here. So it is still difficult. There are people, especially depending on what state you're in. So where I am, yeah, there are immigrants and international students, but I feel like not such a high penetration that employers are like, yeah, man, I know what OPT is. In fact, one of the only employers I have found that actually asks you about OPT in the application is Amazon. And that's different from many of the other employers who just say, will you now or in the future need sponsorship? It's like, it's actually not that simple. And what we are on, this F1 visa, is legitimate and it allows us to have these work opportunities. That's the whole point. But unfortunately, depending on where you are, they may not be as aware of it, and you have to take time to educate the employer. Some will listen, some won't. One of the other things I've thought about and worried about, even at the point of graduating, was, Jano, I wonder if there are going to be people who, once I open my mouth and they hear my accent, don't want to deal with me. Like, what if I come upon people who are secretly racist, or, they're judging me because I'm an immigrant? And then I said, but I don't want to work for people like that. I don't want to work with people like that. If somebody's going to judge me because I am an immigrant, then you don't need my skills. You won't value me, and I don't want to bring my value to you. You know what I mean? And that came after a lot of reflection, because you're coming into a new space. Of course, you're going to be different, but that doesn't mean you should be judged. That doesn't mean that you should be mistreated, And I feel like I hope more Americans stand up for those immigrants around them. I hope that people are conscious of the biases that they have and question those biases. Question those biases. Because quite frankly, everybody here is an immigrant. But we can save that for another video. The point is, it is not easy, and I won't mislead you. It is not easy to get a job here on OPT. It's not easy. And somebody will say, well, no, it's not easy for anybody. But I'm saying there's another layer, and you have to be cognizant of that. So how do you get around it? Of course, them said networking, blah, 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 blah. The truth is, I found that the people who are willing to listen will listen. It's great if you can identify companies that have a global footprint already. They're used to dealing with people from different countries. They're used to the immigration laws and policies. That's really helpful. And I also think, this part is a little more difficult, especially if you're already here on OPT and you're finding it hard to get a job or something. But I want to challenge us to maybe step away from what we were sold. And hear me out. Just follow me. We were sold the idea that you come to the US, you get the degree, you get a great job, you 10x how much ever you are earning in your home country, and then you're set. If you go back to your home country, you have international experience, you also have money in the bank. But the idea is all of the investment and sacrifice you're making right now as an international student is going to pay off once you graduate. That's what we tell ourselves and we push through. But the truth is, or my truth has been, it was not that smooth sailing. And I'm grateful for the reputation I would have built at home, the connections I would have had, which gave me the opportunity to work and to build my portfolio and continuously have projects working on. But it's not in the way that I thought. And we're told, yay, you never know how things are going to pan out. It's not going to be what you look like. But when you've made so much sacrifice, I can understand if you're just like, well, what the heck, you know? But what I want to challenge you on, and it's something my friend Marion said to me while I was studying. She was like, Jillian, all the things that you're learning in this program, things you're being exposed to, you should start your own thing. And I think I think at the time I was just like, yeah, sure, yeah, it would be nice, but me need for, I go have student loans to pay. I need to, you know what I mean? But I have come to the point now where I'm saying to myself, did I come all this way, do all of this just to work for somebody? I would love to work with people and work on really cool projects and make change. But I think we're seeing a world now that is saying, hey, what has worked before will not continue to work. And, people are losing their long term government jobs. People are losing big corporate roles, small roles, whatever it is. But the idea that we're just going to get a job, we're just going to be in it for whatever time. I mean, if you already have one, great. But I think generally as a people, we need to start thinking about what it means to be self-sustainable and what it means to create our own thing. Because I don't know about you, but I don't want a small group of people in a boardroom to be able to say if I have a job and if I can buy groceries. I don't know. I don't want that. And there's always somebody reporting to somebody. There's layers of accountability and leadership and all of that. We know that. But the idea that we can turn our hand, make fashion, as we say in Jamaica, to create something, you take your creativity, your intellect, whatever skill you have, and make something of it. I think that's going to be even more important. I said before that for me, having a degree and the paper wasn't all that. For me, I was interested in the opportunity to experience something new, to explore, and to open doors. That's what it meant to me. A degree is neither here nor there. We know though that it opens doors, right? So in with that being said, when the door open, if we're gonna choose the route of, okay, you know what, I'm gonna spend 25, 30 hours a week and apply for jobs and try and pander and try versus that 25 to 30 hours going to, you know, our own thing. And I get it. Okay, so well, we're gonna need a job to get insurance. We're gonna need a job to you know, be in the system. Sure, those things are valid, especially if you're just starting out. But if you're somewhere where I am right now, where I've done those things and now I'm in a new country and I'm trying to try something else. Like I didn't come all this way to do the same thing. You get me? So I just feel like the OPT period has been an eye-opening one because I thought it was going to be one thing and it turned out to be totally different. But I am grateful for the opportunities to pause and reflect even in this first year of OPT, and the news has been, sometimes anxiety inducing and you're like, gosh, should I keep going? Should I keep staying here? But I think there's a level of trust and faith that we have to stick with and to know that you didn't come all this way just to do the same thing. And that is probably one of the biggest wake up calls for me. So, with all of that being said, I can definitely say the growth is happening, and sometimes when the growth is happening, you're going to have to put down certain ways of thinking and change your mindset. I always go back to the growth mindset. It's not like I'm always in growth mindset. Sometimes I'm fixed. Sometimes I'm just like, yo, this my want, and I saw it must go, and this was my 5 year, 1 year, 2 year plan, whatever. But I've come to realize that I always have to have a little bit of fluidity and flexibility in my plans. And it's hard. It's hard because we just want to create the things and have the life and do the things, but it's not so it always go, especially when dealing with things like grief, dealing with things like an impending recession, dealing with things like the job market, how it is. There's just so much that is telling us no when we're trying to say yes to ourselves. But I'm constantly reminded that the power is within me. God have the power, my friends and family, choosing to be joyful even in waiting and choosing to be joyful even in times of difficulty is always the better choice. But sometimes I just lie down on the bed, I'm going to just give up for a moment and then I will and come again. Yeah? So let's wrap it up with a few things on the lighter note. Things like the food. All right, culture shock number one. Oh, them people love cold sandwich, so Americans, no offense, but what is it with a cold sandwich? My gosh, no, like hot food. You guys don't like hot food? I would go somewhere like a conference and they're like, yeah, lunch will be served. And I'm like, all right, we can get a decent meal, a proper meal. When I look, cold sandwich, I'm like, guys, this is a snack. This is not lunch. That's a culture shock to me. The use of profanities. Oh my gosh, in like the workplace. I mean, not everywhere, but I find that there's just like a heavy use of profanities. I feel like I remember that from watching certain American TV shows or something, but yeah, we don't use that many profanities in the workplace openly like that. You can't be in a meeting and saying that these numbers are these the data is you can't, no, you can't. No, we don't do that. We don't do that. I don't know. Maybe it's some kind of, I don't know what it is, but that's strange to me. What else is a culture shock? Just telling you off the top of my head. I mean, I think we know this already and we see it if you visit already, but definitely the involvement of dogs everywhere. I feel like I see more pet clinics and dog clinics than kids clinics and regular clinic. Like I'll be driving somewhere, it's like pet hospital, pet clinic, but me not see nothing for a human. But I don't mind, because that's a lifestyle I want to give my puppy Dulce, who I'll show you on screen. Pop up. Miss you. Pop. But Dulce is in Jamaica. And just on record, Dulce has like so many names, but it's Dulce. It's really Dulce, sweet in Spanish. You can also call him Chunka, Pop Pop, Poppington, or full name Dulce Parag. Those are the culture shocks for now. I think a lot of people aren't courteous on the road. And they say if you know to drive in Jamaica, you can drive anywhere because Jamaican roads, Jamaican roads, them not easy. But there is like, I don't know what it is, a level of road rage with some of these people on the road, man. You see, if you up on I-35, even the Mopac, but especially I-35, which is the interstate highway through Texas, if you're on that highway and one big pickup truck behind you, them just down in your neck back so. Down in your neck back so. Like, sir, go around me now. Go around me. I am in the slow lane for a reason. But I've learned that Texas, I have to fact check this, but Texas was the last state to get a speed limit. Let's just say the people act like there is no speed limit sometime. Some of the highways go up to 80 miles per hour. Them take that as a suggestion. But me not able, me just stay in the slow lane. Unless I'm in a rush and I go in the fast lane. But the driving sometimes really crazy. I've heard it's crazier in Houston, but I haven't been there yet. But yeah, I think that's where I'll put the culture shocks. And then finally, in terms of living in Austin, cost of living, I would say Austin and the outskirts. The city borders, wherever you are, will always expand, right? So you have Austin in the center, and then you have outlying, I guess you call them suburbs. So it would be like Pflugerville, Manor, um, Lakeline. You go down South Austin and further on. I would say I've seen rent prices ranging from as low as 950 a month, which is pretty much not the nicest apartment, but decent. And going as high as maybe 2,000, 3,000 for like your posh apartments, but and maybe townhouses. But for me, I've found reasonable rent prices, whether it's like I say in that 950 range, 1,002, that will come with a pool, depending on where you are. But it seems to be a lot more reasonable than other rent prices we hear in other parts of the US. Another thing that's nice about Texas in general is that there's no income tax. So that's why you see a lot of people moving to Texas and stuff like that. I think there's something good with the property tax as well, but I don't remember it off the top of my head. Otherwise, there's always something happening in Austin. They call it the live music city, or yeah, live music city. So there's always some concert, some kind of dance I keep. And I've also seen where there are more, like, let's call them Caribbean Afro style parties happening. I want to check out one of them, and I'm going to tell you no lie. Maybe I keep one, I don't know. DJ Cupcake, that's my DJ name, yeah. But yeah, I feel like there's more of that happening, as well as just the general music scene is always buzzing. There's South by Southwest, Austin City Limits. These are big events that happen. And the food, I would say I enjoy the food in Austin. And I'm thinking about featuring some of the Jamaican restaurants here in Austin. So let me know if you'd be interested in that video. But overall, I would say this has just been such a journey of exploration from, as I said in the first part of this series, the idea to know where I'm living in it and experiencing the pros, the cons, the good, the bad. Like, it's not easy, but I have the days where I have the energy and the appreciation and the gratitude to say, thank you, God, for this journey. Thank you for this opportunity to experience something new, the opportunity to meet new people, to have, you know, new avenues of learning and exploration, whether that is formal and in theory or the practical, you know, pull down, try again. I feel like God has been guiding me all this way. And I'm just grateful for that. And I'm grateful for my friends and family who continue to stick by my side, and I'm grateful also about what is to come. I don't know what it is, I'm a naga ball this time, but I am just hopeful because somehow we're still here, and that means something. Somehow, through all the struggle, the strife, the pain, the tears, whatever, we're still here. And I am grateful to have this space where I can share with you. And hopefully, this is helpful to someone who is on the OPT journey, on the F1 student journey, thinking about it, or just someone learning about what other people are doing. I hope that, this is edifying for you. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Good vibes.